this is where the magic happens. Yeah, so this is my art direction right here. You know, this is why Cliff is as successful as he is now, is because of the ability to impart his ideas like this. So he'll come in and draw like this crap on my whiteboard, and this is the start of every character. So this guy apparently he said, Jay, make him like this, and then he'll get all serious, you know. And I get this kind of anatomically correct gingerbread looking dude, except, you know, he drew the body, but it's a lollipop head. And then this is a representation of a shape that he wanted on there. He's like, make a blade, make blades. You know, he gets all animated and stuff. So this is what I'm left with, and this will stay up here the whole time I'm concepting the character. And when anyone comes in and asks, you know, what are you doing? I'll just point to this. And then Trammell will come in, and he'll look at this and know what this is. And he'll be like, yeah, man, and we can do this with it. And we can, what is this? You know, we can put Beard and this guy. So this is what I get as my art direction. Go make magic, and this is LawBreakers right here happening. My job's incredible.
Art concepts usually start as one thing and in the end become something totally different. I mean, that makes sense, right? Like a lot in game development, the process is crazy. And one character in particular, Kronos, had a very interesting story that started in the first few days of the studio. To me, his story illustrates how in the world of game development, everything is in flux. And origin stories may be as simple or as complex as you may have thought. So how did Kronos, one of our premier characters in LawBreakers, get his start? Well, this is his story and how we do concept work at Bosskey. In the first month of Bosskey, back in August of 2014, Kronos was just a concept known as our first lifer character. The lifers are a breaker faction within LawBreakers that helped us define what our characters would be like in the first few days of the company. Lifers were described as ex-cons, lawless, feral, you know, just want to see the world burn. At the studio, he was casually referred to as the Brute, and funny enough, as you'll see, people still refer to him as that today. He looked kind of similar, but as with any character, you need to start somewhere. And Jay Hawkins, our senior concept artist, can tell his story.
Kronos has a really interesting origin story, actually. He was our first sort of introduction to what LawBreakers potentially might be. So not only was he a character that we wanted to put in the game, but he also was going to define what LawBreakers was, because at that point we had no idea. You know, it was all in Cliff's head at this point. We had no gameplay, nothing. They decided to outsource the early concepts for Kronos to another concept company, which is awesome because they did some quick iterations based on Cliff's idea, and that's it. It was Cliff. So with Kronos, you know, we got a couple sketches back where he had all these weird lion mane tentacles and stuff like that, and he said, I like that one, and it was really rough, really rough. And and then they asked me to take it and kind of do a painting based on the sketch and sort of bring it to life in 2D and, you know, add the colors and stuff that we were potentially looking at, give it the attitude we were looking at in LawBreakers, and just try to sell it, you know. Because again, at that point, there was no game. It was just words and whatever pictures we came up with at the time. And that's another thing. We didn't have an art director when the Brute started. It was just, I think, 5 of us just hacking away, you know? It was terrifying. We were creating an IP in a company and at the same time and learning how to work together. So he was actually a real pain in the butt because there was nothing easy about it.
In a first-person shooter, characters need guns. So parallel to Kronos being worked on by outsourcers outside of the studio, Jay was doing the first sketches for a rocket launcher here in the studio. And it has some pretty interesting inspiration.
I've worked with Cliff for a long time, and the things he comes up with still sometimes, like, I'm like, what in the world are you talking about? So the rocket launcher was him coming to me and saying, I want a rocket launcher, and it's going to be named, I think in the beginning it was called the Mako Shark or something. And he said, I want it to look like a shark. And we just started iterating from there, you know, and I grabbed silhouettes of sharks and cars and motorcycles and stuff like that. In the end, you know, the way it works is I'll usually draw something out, or I'll start mocking it up, and you'll see on the final version it's got like a shark face on it, and it ended up where it is today. But many iterations and changes and adapting as the game has gone on to end up where it is.
So now, the rocket launcher and Kronos were being developed alongside each other, but how do those things actually get put together in the game? Our senior gameplay programmer, Joshua Parker, can explain.
So when they finally got into the game, we were like, oh, well, let's see what happens if we merge these two things together. Let's see, you know, it's a big guy and there's a big rocket launcher. Let's see how they work together. It resonated with a lot of people within the studio, but there was a lot of gameplay issues that kind of come along with the kind of identity of the character. Because you have a big guy who you think is kind of supposed to be up close, but a rocket launcher kind of identifies with long range kind of gameplay. So we had to kind of massage the rocket into being more of a nuke style rocket to kind of give it more shorter range and kind of push people in to have closer fighting ranges. And it still was kind of a little bit squirrely, and then we worked on some different things. It shot grenades at one time and did all kinds of weird stuff, but finally we kind of set it on to trying to get more skill out of it. So that's when the right click detonate came in. And that's where the Brute's kind of full combo kind of gameplay came from. Like, I leap in, I hit the rocket launcher, then I detonate it behind you, knocking you closer to me type stuff. So that kind of built him, we kind of built him around the rocket launcher, whereas some other characters are their guns are kind of built around their abilities in a different way.
Much like how Kronos evolved and changed over time, so did the way Jay approached concept art. As a small studio, we needed to be as agile as possible, concept art included.
So I got to Bosky, and it became obvious that the 2D drawings weren't going to get us the results in the time we needed to the accuracy we needed. So with me kind of picking up ZBrush and learning as much as I can about it, I can actually do a proxy model, you know, a prototype model of every character or weapon that we do. Because with ZBrush and then the ZBrush Keyshot Bridge, you can actually, you know, just flip your model over into Keyshot and start applying materials and decals and textures and all that, which is, you know, then Cliff and Trammell and all them can come in and I can spin the model around on my screen and be slapping on materials and things as they're standing there. It's not me sitting in Photoshop rendering out, you know, I can move decals, or, I mean, it's mind-blowing considering how I started. You know, with the pen and paper. I think I had a scanner and a pen and paper, which I don't know anyone that does that anymore.
Every studio is unique when it comes to creating concept art. Kronos has a unique origin story born in the first few days of the company's creation. For us, we can say that Kronos was actually one of the first hires Bosky ever had, and he still works with us today. If you miss a previous Dev Diaries, head over to the LawBreakers YouTube to check them out. And of course, follow us at LawBreakers and at Bosky on Twitter for the latest news and updates. From everybody at the studio, thanks for watching.